It's August 1944, deep inside Hitler's Wolf's Lair headquarters in East Prussia. General Alfred Jodl is studying maps of the Western Front with absolute confidence. The mathematics are undeniable. Patton's Third Army has just blazed across France 400 miles in 30 days. It's an impossible pace. And now they're about to pay the price. They've outrun their logistics, Jodl announces to his staff. An armored division needs 150,000 gallons of fuel every single day. Patton is 400 miles from his supply depots. Physical laws cannot be violated, not even by American industry. The German High Command is certain. Patton will grind to a halt within days, maybe hours. They'll regroup at the Seine, hold through winter, and turn this war around. There's just one problem with their calculations. 125 miles away, 6,000 trucks are already rolling eastward with their headlights blazing, a violation of every military doctrine ever written. They're carrying 12,500 tons of supplies every single day, and they're about to teach the Wehrmacht a lesson they'll never forget. This is the story of the Red Ball Express, the most audacious logistics operation in military history, run by 23,000 soldiers that America tried to forget, but who proved that in modern warfare, the convoy of trucks matters more than the column of tanks. Let's understand why the Germans were so confident. These weren't amateurs. They'd pioneered blitzkrieg, revolutionized combined arms warfare, and conquered most of Europe. They understood logistics intimately because their own campaigns had repeatedly failed when supply lines couldn't keep up with their panzer spearheads. In Russia, it wasn't Soviet resistance that first stopped them. It was the simple inability to move supplies across vast distances. German trucks broke down on Russian roads. Horse-drawn wagons, still 80% of their transport, couldn't match the speed of their tanks. Railway gauge differences meant supplies piled up hundreds of miles from the front lines. So when they looked at Patton's advance, the math seemed ironclad. A Sherman tank got half a mile per gallon. An infantry division needed 700 tons of supplies daily. An armored division needed 1,000. Patton commanded 12 divisions on a 60-mile front. That's 12,000 tons every single day, transported 400 miles from the beaches over roads the Germans had systematically destroyed during their retreat. General Siegfried Westphal calculated it precisely. Even if the Americans possessed unlimited trucks, which they don't, and perfect roads, which they don't, and no mechanical failures, which is impossible, they still couldn't sustain Patton's advance more than another 48 hours. The German generals were about to learn that Americans don't play by European rules. August 25, 1944. A requisitioned French chateau near Laon. Lieutenant Colonel Laurent Ayres stands before a room of skeptical officers and presents a plan that sounds completely insane. We're going to create a one-way highway from the beaches to the front lines. Every vehicle runs 20 hours out of 24. No stopping except for gas and emergencies. We'll move 12,500 tons daily, minimum. The officers stare at him. The name comes from railway terminology. A Red Ball freight was an express shipment that took priority over everything. This would operate on the same principle. Absolute priority, no delays, no exceptions. The specifications defy every principle of military science. 2 parallel one-way highways, 24-hour operations with headlights blazing, 5-minute convoy intervals, 35 miles per hour average speed. Any vehicle below 25 miles per hour is removed from the route. Colonel Charles Thrasher reviews the numbers. We need 140 truck companies, almost 6,000 vehicles, operating at 90% availability. That's impossible by any logistics textbook ever written. Within 36 hours, the impossible was operational. Here's what would have absolutely shocked German racial theorists. Of the 23,000 drivers who would operate the Red Ball Express, approximately 75% were African American soldiers serving in a still segregated army. Let that sink in. These men couldn't eat in white restaurants back home, couldn't use white facilities in much of America, were denied equal rights in the country they were fighting for. Yet they were keeping the most celebrated white general's army in motion. And they knew exactly what they were doing. They painted slogans on their trucks: Patton's Blood Bank, Hitler, Here We Come, Detroit to Berlin Express. They developed their own traffic code within hours. Slower vehicles pulled off immediately, mechanical failures got pushed into ditches. Any truck below 20 miles per hour was considered a roadblock. If your truck broke down, you had 15 minutes to fix it, or it was getting bulldozed off the road. By August 28th, German reconnaissance units started reporting something they couldn't believe. Continuous vehicle column, headlights visible for 20 kilometers, no spacing, no blackout discipline, estimate 1,000 vehicles per hour. Americans have abandoned all military precaution. This violated everything German military doctrine taught. Headlights invited air attacks. Continuous columns made perfect artillery targets. But the Americans didn't care. They had so many trucks that if you destroyed 100, they'd replace them by next week.
The first week of operations, August 25th to 31st, 1944, the Red Ball Express delivered almost 90,000 tons of supplies. That's an average of nearly 13,000 tons every single day, traveling round trips of 686 miles. German logistics specialists captured these numbers from American documents and dismissed them as propaganda. They had to be fake. No military force could move that much material that quickly. But the numbers were real, and they were accelerating. General Edgar Feuchtinger of the 21st Panzer Division personally observed the Red Ball from concealed positions. His report shows growing alarm. The enemy operates a supply system beyond our comprehension. Vehicles pass at 30-second intervals, day and night, without pause. They don't hide, don't disperse, don't follow any rules we understand. It's not military science, it's mass production applied to warfare. The Germans couldn't wrap their heads around it. Where German doctrine emphasized concealment, Americans relied on volume. Where Germans conserved vehicles, Americans planned for 20% mechanical failure and just brought more trucks. Where Germans followed strict procedure, Americans improvised constantly. When 1,800 trucks broke down daily, yes, daily, mobile maintenance units performed repairs on the roadside. Mechanics developed a brutal triage system, 15 minutes to fix it or push it off the road. They cannibalized parts from unrepairable vehicles. They swapped entire engines in 45 minutes using mobile cranes. When the designated route became congested, drivers just created alternate paths. They commandeered French buses. They borrowed destroyed German vehicles, painted them olive drab, and pressed them into service. They built bypasses around destroyed bridges, using rubble from bombed buildings as roadbed. The Germans watched this organized chaos and couldn't comprehend it. German doctrine emphasized careful planning, maintenance schedules, proper procedure. The Americans violated every principle, yet their system accelerated rather than collapse. The fuel management alone was staggering. The Red Ball Express consumed 300,000 gallons of gasoline daily just for its own operations, more than entire German armies received for all purposes. Yet fuel never ran short, because Americans had created something called Operation Pluto pipelines, under the ocean, laying fuel lines across the English Channel that German intelligence hadn't even detected. General Walter Warlimont observed from aerial photographs, "The Americans have fuel dumps larger than our entire strategic reserves. They burn more gasoline moving gasoline than we allocate to entire panzer divisions. This isn't war as we understand it. It's industrial overflow."
German military doctrine calculated that an armored division could sustain 20 to 30 miles of advance daily under optimal conditions. Patton's divisions, supplied by the Red Ball Express, averaged 40 to 60 miles daily for weeks. On September 1st, the 4th Armored Division advanced 35 miles in morning operations, halted for resupply at noon, Red Ball trucks were already waiting, then advanced another 32 miles in the afternoon. 67 miles in a single day. This shattered German defensive planning, which assumed a maximum of 30 miles daily. General Heinz Guderian initially refused to believe the reports. No armored force can advance 60 miles daily. Mechanical failures alone prevent it. This is propaganda. But intercepted American radio traffic confirmed it. Even more disturbing, the Americans were broadcasting their positions openly, without code, supremely confident they could move faster than the Germans could react. German soldiers could hear American trucks all night. Endless motors, endless supplies. The sound itself became psychological warfare. German units had 3 rounds per rifle, while Americans were bringing millions of rounds past them in the darkness. Let's be clear. The Red Ball Express drivers paid a terrible price that German observers couldn't see from their positions. Drivers operated for 72 straight hours, hallucinating from exhaustion and benzene. 300 drivers died during the operation. Trucks colliding in fog, overturning on damaged roads, burning when overheated engines ignited. Yet, morale remained extraordinarily high. These men, mostly African Americans, denied equal rights at home, understood they were making history. They were proving Hitler's racial theories wrong with every mile driven, every ton delivered. Every time a German officer stood amazed at their competence, every time they calculated loads faster than German engineers, every time they kept rolling when logic said they should have collapsed, they were fighting 2 wars, one against Nazi Germany, one against racism itself. And they were winning both, with truck keys. Captured German officers provided eloquent testimony. Oberst Hans von Luck told interrogators, "We knew we'd lost when we understood your supply system. You violate every rule, waste fuel, abandon vehicles, exhaust drivers, yet succeed through sheer volume. You've industrialized warfare beyond our comprehension."
In early September, the Red Bull faced its greatest challenge. Patton had advanced so far that even the Red Ball struggled. Round trips now exceeded 700 miles. Drivers were collapsing. Vehicles were disintegrating. German intelligence detected the strain. General Hasso von Manteuffel reported, "American supply lines show signs of collapse. Convoy intervals have increased from 5 to 15 minutes. Vehicle speed has decreased. This is our opportunity." But American adaptability surprised them again. Within 72 hours, the Red Ball reorganized completely, created intermediate transfer points, implemented driver rotation systems, established forward maintenance bases, doubled the assigned vehicles. By September 12th, tonnage delivery had actually increased. The crisis that should have halted Patton only made the system stronger. Field Marshal Walter Model's response revealed German desperation. "If these reports are accurate, we face not a superior army, but a superior civilization. They make no effort to hide because they don't fear us. They waste resources because they have infinite resources. We cannot defeat this with military tactics." By October, advancing railheads began to reduce Red Ball requirements. The operation that was supposed to last 10 days had continued for 82 days, delivering 412,000 tons of supplies over 122 million ton miles. The final statistics: 82 days of operation, 412,193 tons delivered. 222 million ton-miles, 23,000 drivers, 700,000 gallons of fuel consumed daily, 300 drivers dead, 5,000 vehicles destroyed. This shortened the war by an estimated 6 months. Each day of war cost America a lot. The Red Ball Express paid for itself in a single day of shortened conflict. Field Marshal Walter Model wrote in his final report, "We were not defeated by American tanks or planes primarily. We were defeated by American trucks." In May 1945, captured German logistics officers studied Red Ball operations for historical records. General Friedrich Schulz summarized, "The Red Ball Express represents warfare we never imagined. Americans created a temporary civilization, thousands of men, thousands of vehicles, millions of tons of supplies that existed only to feed armies, then dissolved when no longer needed. We built permanent infrastructure over years. They created superior temporary systems in days." Perhaps the most insightful analysis came from Heinz Guderian, father of German armored warfare. "We invented blitzkrieg, but never solved its fundamental limitation, logistics. Americans solved it through industrial excess we deemed impossible." The Red Ball Express was not a supply line. It was a flowing river of material that drowned our forces. When German generals surrendered in May 1945, many cited the Red Ball Express specifically as demonstrating the hopelessness of continued resistance. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring was asked what most surprised him about American forces. His answer was, "Not your tanks, not your planes, but your trucks. The Red Ball Express showed us that you had militarized your entire society's production capacity. We were fighting your factories, not just your soldiers." The final word belongs to a German officer whose name is lost to history, quoted by a Red Ball driver at the 1994 commemoration ceremony. Standing beside a road in Belgium, watching the endless convoy pass, the officer said to his captors, "We prepared for everything. Your tanks, your planes, your ships. We never prepared for your trucks. How do you defeat an enemy who has more trucks than you have soldiers?" The answer rolled past him at 5-minute intervals, driven by exhausted Americans who were rewriting the rules of warfare, one delivery at a time. General Patton himself wrote the ultimate tribute. "The truck drivers of the Red Ball Express deserved as much credit for the defeat of Germany as any combat unit. They were black soldiers mostly, segregated, discriminated against, denied recognition. But they won the war as surely as any rifleman. History must record this truth. That truth stands today. 23,000 mostly African-American drivers operating 6,000 trucks on a one-way highway to victory achieved what German military science declared impossible. They proved that in modern warfare, the side with the most trucks beats the side with the best tactics. The German generals who mocked at American logistics in August 1944 signed surrender documents in May 1945, defeated by truck drivers who revolutionized warfare at 35 miles per hour. Amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics, and Americans talk trucks. The Red Ball Express made logistics into strategy, supply into victory, and trucks into the most decisive weapon of the European war.